What's up, guys? Welcome back to Hands-On channel. For the first time in a very long time, I'm having a problem with my 93 Chevy Silverado. And basically a real quick example of what the problem was about, I don't know, a month ago or so. Every time I would flip the headlights on in the evening time, I noticed, you know, it would take like 30 seconds for them to come on. I would flip the switch and then it would take like 30 seconds for them to finally come on. And I could sit there and jiggle with the switch and everything and flip it back and forth, and sometimes I could make them come on. Well, fast forward to about, I don't know, a week or two ago, I was over at my new property and I was there well after dark, and all of a sudden I went to leave, flipped my headlight switch, no headlights. I still had running lights, but no headlights. So I messed with it, and after a little while I had to finally call my wife up, because basically what was happening was I would drive down the road maybe a quarter of a mile, and then they would just go off on their own. And then I also noticed a really hot smell, like Chinesium burning. So I went ahead and turned around and called my wife, and then I just had to follow her home and use her headlights basically. We went real careful and everything, but ever since then, now I don't have any running lights or any headlights of any kind. So essentially what I'm going to do is change out the headlight switch here. So I thought I'd pull you in here and show you how to do that. Also, just if this starts happening to your truck or whatever, put your nose right down there by the headlight switch and give it a sniff. If it smells like, you know, burning plastic or burning computer chips, then it's probably pointing you in that direction. So I'm going to get this whole front bezel pulled off right quick. We'll get you pulled in here where you can see how to do this. It's a real easy job. Cost me about 25 bucks to buy the part over at AutoZone. You're only going to need two tools for this. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver and a T20 X4, it says, Torx wrench. So we're going to take these 4 screws out that hold the bezel in. And you want to be careful working on these older trucks, because even that one right there is cracked, I just noticed as I unscrewed it. So this old plastic gets brittle, especially when you're retightening it in. You want to not put too much on it or you'll break it. Okay, so okay, got those out. Now we should be able to work this loose. Okay, just kind of work it out from behind the dash there, and should be able to pull this out. Okay, so there we go. Had to put the truck down in low 1 just so I could get past that. We've got to disconnect these 2 plugs here. Try to get it where you guys can see what I'm doing here. Okay, on the back side there's a little clip you have to pull and just wiggle it back and forth, and that one will come off. And this one's way down in there. Okay, it looks like you're going to need one more tool, your pocket knife. Let's see if I can go that way. Maybe you guys can see what I'm doing here. Just trying to overcome the little latch. Actually, now that I got the knife kind of wedged in there, I should be able to just pull that loose. There we go. Okay. So next up, I see somebody has glued this in. So I may have to get some hot glue after this thing, but there's 4 screws right here that we need to take loose to put the new switch in. that's not a good sign. It cracked as I was unscrewing it there. Okay, that one seemed to come out. Now that we have all those screws taken loose, I can see where somebody patched it up and glued it before. So hopefully that'll hold. Okay. I don't want to lose any screws. There it is. I caught it. Look at our new part here. Looks good, looks the same. All right, looks like there's a couple little clips here you have to overcome. And we're just going to pull out on these little tabs here a little bit. Careful not to break them. And you should get the thing to sliding. Okay, there we go. Okay, there's the old switch. And it definitely smells burnt. I just smelled it up close. It certainly smells burnt. So that's no good. Okay, I'm sliding it back in, just making sure I'm getting it the right direction. Push it back in. Okay, it clicked. So we're all back in. Now it's just a matter of trying to reassemble this, and I may have to get some hot glue out or something to hold this in because some of my screws broke, or the little mounting things that the screws go into actually broke. So let's see if they'll go back in. Yeah, sometimes you got to get a little creative if you want to keep these old vehicles running. The plastic just gets brittle on them over time. Okay, that worked out pretty well. Okay. Just a little bit more right here. Clean up the hot glue stringies, and we're going to let that cool off for just a minute or two. All right, here's our bezel. I glued up this top corner too with just some hot glue. Could have used some super glue, but I think the hot glue would be good enough. I'll just make sure and not put a lot of torque down on that particular one. But you can see here, although I made a stringy mess, you can pick that off if you want. The hot glue held up well. My switch isn't going anywhere, so now it's time to put this all back in. Should be fairly easy. So we'll start here, like something like that. I may have to spin it down like this just so you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay. So that one goes back in the same position on the dash dimmer or the light dimmer. And basically they'll only go one way, so I don't think you can really screw this up Okay, that's all the way down. So now we're just going to spin this back around like this, and I'm going to have to put the truck back in low. So I can clear that gear shifter. And you kind of have to put the bottom side down first and get everything tucked up around. And the top edge snaps in there. There we go. If you've got one of these things, you may have to kind of wiggle that around, that guy. Also, if you have the radio, I'm not so sure. You may have to pull the radio out to do this. I don't know. But yeah, we're back in place. We're locked in. So just put the screws back in. And we'll go ahead and put it in park so I don't roll away here. And again, I'm being very careful not to break any of these screws because there's, or the mounts that these screws go into. And I'm not going to tighten it down all the way just yet. I'm going to go ahead and get all my screws started first, then come back and tighten everything down. That was the one bad thing about these older, this generation Chevy trucks, is that, man, the plastics on them that they use just, they got eaten up by the sun. And for some reason that bottom one there is not tightening, so that's not good. And that one's only going snug, but it's not going anywhere. So now let's see if we have headlights. Yes, we do. Headlights are back on. The instrument lights are on. We are good to go. All right, guys, we're back in business. That's all it was that headlight switch was bad. Although I'm looking here, it looks like I've got a bulb bad over here, so I'm gonna have to change that out. But yeah, I'll go check the high beams and everything else, but that was our problem. So if you end up in a similar situation, hopefully you'll know what to do now. Especially if you start smelling a burnt plasticky, burnt electronic smell, you'll know, and your headlights start acting weird, you'll know that it's probably the headlight switch that's going out on you. Oh yeah, we got high beams. Back in business. I hope this helped you out, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. And until then, we'll see you next time.